When a Hell's Angel running from his dead son's ghost found two kids dying on a highway, one with blue lips, the other crying for help. He had exactly 30 seconds before the black van hunting them closed in. The choice he made next would either give him the redemption he'd been chasing for a decade, or destroy the last piece of humanity he had left. This is the story of the outlaw who stopped running. The splash of red shouldn't have been there. Griff's headlight caught it 50 yards out, bright against wet asphalt and the bruised Washington sky. He squeezed the brake. The Harley's rumble died, and the rain filled the silence like static. His boots hit the highway, diesel smell mixing with pine and wet earth. Then he heard the voice. Small, broken. Sir, please. The boy was maybe 5, soaked through, shaking so hard his teeth clattered. Dark hair plastered to his skull. Eyes too old for that young face. He clutched a bundle wrapped in a threadbare blanket, and Griff's stomach dropped. He knew that kind of shaking, that kind of fear. Griff took 3 steps, and his knees cracked as he knelt. The boy flinched back, and that small movement carved something open in Griff's chest. Because for one gut punch second, it wasn't this kid on the highway. It was him, his son, Jacob. Same age, same dark hair, same small hands. The memory hit like buckshot. Hospital hallway, fluorescent lights buzzing, a doctor's hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry, Mr. Cole. We did everything we could. Griff's throat closed. His hands, scarred knuckles, faded ink, hovered in the air between them. He should leave. Flag down next car. Disappear back into the rain like he'd been doing for 10 years. My baby sister, the boy whispered, and his voice cracked. She isn't moving. The bundle shifted. Griff saw a tiny face, blue-tinged lips, skin the color of frost. The baby girl couldn't have been more than a year old. Her chest barely moved. Not again. The words detonated in his skull. His son's face flickered in front of him. Jacob on that hospital bed, tubes and machines, Griff standing there useless, hands in his pockets because touching him would make it real. He'd walked away from that. Run. Put 1,000 miles between himself and that memory. His fingers found the baby's wrist through the wet blanket, searching for a pulse. Too faint. Too slow. Behind him, headlights crested the hill, yellow beams cutting through the downpour. Someone was coming. Griff's jaw clenched. This was the moment. Call it in. Stay until help arrived. Do it the right way, the legal way, the way that didn't get a Hell's Angel arrested for kidnapping. But legal hadn't saved Jacob. Legal had been too slow, too careful, too late. The boy's lips trembled. Are you going to hurt us? That question, that small, terrified question from a kid who'd already been hurt too much. Griff's throat burned. His dead son's face stared at him from the dark corners of his mind, asking the question he'd never answered. Why weren't you there? The headlights grew brighter. 30 seconds out. Griff shrugged off his leather cut. The Hell's Angel's patch across the back, his armor, his identity. He wrapped it around both kids, leather still warm from his body heat. The baby was ice cold against his chest as he lifted them. Hold on tight, he growled. He swung onto the Harley, Spencer's arms locking around his waist, the baby pressed between them. His hands found the grips. One twist, and the engine roared to life, drowning out the sound of approaching tires. The headlights behind him flared bright. Not a car. Avon. Black. No Platz. And it was accelerating fast. Griff twisted the throttle, and the Harley screamed forward into the rain. The cabin's heat hit like a fist. Griff kicked the door shut, Spencer still clinging to his waist, the baby limp in his arms. With stove in the corner, already burning low. He laid Malia on the ratty couch, peeled back the soaked blanket. Her skin was marble white, lips purple. not breathing right. Not this time. He muttered, hands moving on autopilot. Come on, kid, not this time. He grabbed wool blankets from the bedroom, wrapped her tight, rubbed her tiny arms, her legs, trying to force warmth back in her veins. Spencer stood frozen by the door, water pooling around his sneakers. She gonna die? The boy whispered. Griff's jaw clenched. No, he'd said that before. 10 years ago. In a different state, different life. He'd been wrong then. His fingers found a pulse point on Malia's neck. Faint, thready, but there. He positioned her near the stove, not too close, just enough. The cabin smelled like cedar and old coffee and the metallic tang of fierce sweat. Minutes crawled. Spencer didn't move. Griff didn't breathe. Then a cough. Small, weak, but real. Malia's eyes fluttered. Her chest rose, fell. Rose again. Color started creeping back in her cheeks, slow as sunrise. Griff's shoulders dropped. His hands were shaking again. There you go, he said, voice rough. There you go. Spencer took 3 steps forward, still wary, like Griff might change his mind about the kindness. The boy's jacket dripped on the floor, that red jacket that had saved their lives by being visible. Griff grabbed the damp blanket Malia had been wrapped in, started to wring it out. Something felt wrong. Not just wet. There was a weight to it, uneven. His calloused fingers traced the edge, found a seam that didn't match the others. A lump. Hard. Rectangular. His instincts screamed danger before his brain caught up. He grabbed his buck knife from his belt, sliced through the stitching. The lining opened, and a small waterproof case fell into his palm. Inside, a flash drive. Black. Generic. The kind you bought in bulk. The kind you used when you needed to hide something. Griff's blood went cold. Someone had sewn this into a baby's blanket. Someone had put these kids on that highway. And that black van. Headlights swept across the cabin window. Spencer flinched. Griff was on his feet, knife still in hand, positioning himself between the door and the kids. Engine sounds. Heavy. American-made. A door slammed. Boots on gravel. Deliberate. Slow. Then a voice. Sheriff's Department. Open up. The knock was 3 hard raps, official and final as a judge's gavel. Griff looked at the flash drive in his hand, then at Spencer's terrified face. The boy's eyes said everything. Don't let them take us. He pocketed the drive, crossed to the door, his hand wrapped around the knob, and he pulled it open. Sheriff Brody stood on his porch, rain dripping off his Stetson, one hand resting on his belt near his service weapon. 40-something, clean-shaven, jaw like a shovel. His eyes went straight to the Hell's Angels patch on Griff's cut, still draped over the chair. The recognition hit his face like a slap. Well, Brody said, voice dripping venom. A Hell's Angel. Should have known. His hand moved closer to his gun. Men like you are a cancer, always leaving a trail of broken women behind. Women like my sister Jenna. Griff didn't move, didn't blink. Those kids in there, Brody's eyes were cold blue ice. You're going to tell me exactly why they're in your cabin. And brother, you better pray I like your answer. Behind Griff, from somewhere in the trees, came a sound. A twig snapping. Too loud. Too close. The fluorescent lights of the stop-and-go burned his eyes. 2 in the morning, and Griff stood in aisle 3, staring at a wall of diapers like they were written in Chinese. Size 1. Size 2. Newborn. Overnight. Pull-ups. His tattooed hands. Hands that had rebuilt carburetors and thrown punches. Hung useless at his sides. He grabbed a box at random. It had a smiling baby on it. That had to mean something. The night clerk watched him from behind the register, one hand near the phone. Griff knew that look. 6'3", full beard, Hell's Angels ink crawling up his neck. He was every suburban nightmare walking through the baby aisle at 2 a.m. "You need help, honey?" The voice came from behind a stack of cereal boxes. An older woman emerged, maybe 70, wearing a stop-and-go vest and a kind smile. "Her name Tag," said Dorothy. "I got kids," Griff said. Explaining felt like swallowing glass. "Don't know what they need." Dorothy's eyes softened. No fear. No judgment. Just grandmotherly efficiency. "How old?" "Baby. Maybe 1. And a boy 5. She nodded like he'd given her coordinates. "Follow me." 10 minutes later, his arms were full. Diapers. Formula. Baby food. The kind in little jars with pictures of carrots and peas. Sippy cups. A stuffed bear that Dorothy insisted on. The total came to $93. He paid cash, didn't wait for change. The cold air hit him outside. His Harley sat alone under a flickering streetlight, loaded down with supplies that didn't belong on a bike built for running. The parking lot smelled like diesel and old rain. He pulled out his phone, stared at the number he hadn't called in 18 months. 3 rings. Then, "This better be good." Preacher's voice was gravel and smoke. The only man who'd ever truly had Griff's back. "Got a situation." Griff kept it clipped. 2 packages. One very small. Found him on the highway with a thumb drive sewn into the wrapping. Silence. Then law involved. "Before we go on, where are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments right now. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Now let's get on with the story." Local sheriff. Got history with the patch. The drive hot. Don't know yet. But someone came looking. Preacher exhaled, long and slow. "You know what you're doing?" Griff looked at the baby supplies bungee to his bike. "No." "Good. Means you're thinking." A pause. "I'll send a brother with a toolbox. Be there by morning." Toolbox. Code for their club lawyer and backup. "Thanks, Preach." "Don't thank me yet." The cabin was quiet when he got back. Spencer sat on the floor, knees pulled to his chest, watching Malia sleep in a nest of blankets. The boy's eyes tracked Griff like a rabbit watching a wolf. "Got you some stuff?" Griff said, unpacking jars and boxes. Spencer didn't move, didn't speak. 3 hours later, past 4 a.m., Griff heard it. Soft footsteps. The creak of floorboards. Spencer stood in his bedroom doorway, small frame backlit by the dying fire. "Can't sleep," the boy whispered. Griff sat up, his own demons keeping him company in the dark. "Yeah, me neither. My mom used to—" Spencer's voice cracked. "Used to tell me stories." Something twisted in Griff's chest. He'd told Jacob stories too. Before, when there was still time for stories. "All right." He patted the edge of the bed. "Come here." Spencer climbed up, careful, still scared. Griff's mind went blank. What the hell did kids want to hear? There was this big grumpy bear, he started, voice rough. Had a loud rumble. Lived in the forest. And there were these little animals. Fox. Rabbit. They were scared 'cause there was a sneaky weasel trying to hurt him. Spencer's breathing slowed. But the bear, he protected him. Kept watch. Didn't let the weasel get close. Did the bear catch the weasel? Griff's jaw tightened. "Working on it, kid." Spencer's eyes started to drift closed. Then, barely a whisper, the flash drive. Griff went still. "What about it?" "The man who gave it to my mom. He said people would come for it." Spencer's eyes opened, suddenly too awake. "He said they'd come for us." From outside, the sound of an engine. Multiple engines. Not Harleys. Cars. Griff was on his feet, moving to the window. His blood turned to ice. 3 vehicles. Sheriff's cruiser. A white sedan with government plates. And behind them, keeping back in the shadows, a black van. The knock rattled the door frame. Child Protective Services. Open the door, Mr. Cole. Griff's hand was already on the knob. Spencer pressed behind him, Malia asleep in the makeshift crib. Through the window, he saw them. Sheriff Brody, a woman in a gray pantsuit holding a folder, and behind them, too far back, engine still running, that black van. He opened the door 6 inches, kept his boot wedged against it. The woman stepped forward, all business. 40, dark hair pulled tight, exhaustion in the lines around her eyes. I'm Ms. Albright, CPS. We have a court order for emergency removal of the minors currently in your custody. She held up the papers. Official seal. Judge's signature. The kind of document that ended arguments. Brody stood behind her, hand on his belt, smile cold as January. Told you men like you don't keep kids. You take things, break them, leave. Griff's jaw clenched. They were dying on the highway. And now they're in a cabin with a Hell's Angel who has no legal right to them. Brody's voice was acid. I won't let you ruin them like your kind ruined my sister. Jenna was 19 when she met your type. 23 when we buried her. The words hit like fists, but Griff didn't move. Behind him, Spencer's small hand gripped the back of his shirt. Step aside, Ms. Albright said, softer but no less final. This doesn't have to be difficult. Griff looked at her, then at Brody, then at the black van idling in the shadows. You take them out that door, they're dead by morning. That's enough, Brody started. Someone sewed a flash drive into that baby's blanket. Someone chased us off the highway. In that van, Griff nodded toward the darkness. Been following since mile marker 47. Ms. Albright's eyes flickered. Uncertainty. But the paper in her hand was certainty, and certainty always won. Mr. Cole, I'm asking you one more time. The air split open. Harleys. 3 of them, coming fast, straight up the gravel drive with headlights blazing. The sound was thunder, was warning, was cavalry arriving. Brody's hand dropped to his weapon. Ms. Albright took a step back. The bike stopped 10 feet from the porch, engines rumbling like caged wolves. The lead rider killed his engine, kicked the stand. 60 years old, gray beard, cute covered in patches and road dirt. Preacher. 2 more brothers flanked him. Younger, harder, eyes scanning the scene like tactical operators. Evening, Sheriff. Preacher's voice was Sunday morning calm. Seems like we got ourselves a situation. Brody's face went red. This is official business. And this brother called for counsel. Preacher pulled out his phone, already dialing. Got a real good lawyer. Former DA, actually, specializes in family court and unlawful removal. He put on speaker. A woman's voice, crisp and awake despite the hour. Margaret Hollis. Who needs help? Ms. Albright's expression shifted. Professional recognizing professional. We have a court order, she said, but her voice had lost its edge. Based on what probable cause? Margaret's voice cut through the phone. Emergency removal requires imminent danger. Mr. Cole prevented imminent danger by removing children from a life-threatening situation. That's not kidnapping. That's intervention. Brody opened his mouth, closed it. The standoff balanced on a knife edge. Griff, Brody, CPS, 3 bikers, 1 lawyer on speakerphone, nobody moving. Then, glass exploded. The back window, facing the woods. Spencer's scream ripped through the cabin, high and terrified. Malia, Griefspoon. Through the chaos he saw him, lean, scarred, moving fast through the shattered window. Hands reaching for the crib. Dutch. Griff's boots crunched through broken glass. Dutch had Spencer by the collar, one hand reaching for the crib. Griff didn't think, didn't hesitate. His fist connected with Dutch's jaw, a sound like a bat hitting a watermelon. The man dropped, and Spencer scrambled free. The fight was brutal. Close quarters. Personal. Dutch was lean, fast, desperate. But Griff fought like a man protecting his blood. Every punch carried 10 years of guilt, of failure, of redemption earned through pain. It ended with Dutch face down on the cabin floor, Griff's knee in his spine, blood streaming from his nose. Sheriff Brody burst through the door, weapon drawn. He froze. He wanted to drive. Spencer yelled, pointing to the flash drive that had skittered across the floor during the struggle. Brody's eyes moved from Dutch, snarling, savage, to Griff, bleeding and protective, still positioned between the kids and danger. The sheriff's face changed. The hate drained out, replaced by something harder to fake. Understanding. "All right, Cole," Brody said quietly, holstering his weapon. "Let's figure this out." 6 weeks later, sunlight poured through cabin windows that no longer had broken glass. Toys scattered across the floor. A high chair in the corner. Spencer sat cross-legged on the couch, tongue between his teeth, carefully fitting pieces of a toy Harley together. Malia cooed from her crib, grabbing at a stuffed bear. The flash drive had brought down Dutch's entire trafficking network. 23 arrests. 7 kids recovered. Ms. Albright sat at Griff's kitchen table, sliding papers across to him. Kinship foster care. Approved. Griff's hands, scarred, tattooed, steady, signed his name. Later, on the porch, Griff knelt in front of Spencer. He held something small, a patch. Not the Hells Angels logo, but something Preacher had made special. A bear with a rumbling engine. Guardian of the pack. "This is yours now," Griff said, stitching it onto Spencer's jacket. "Means you're mine. Means I got you. Always." Spencer's fingers traced the patch. Like family. Exactly like family. Behind them, Harleys rumbled as Preacher and the brothers rolled up for Sunday dinner. Spencer didn't flinch at the sound anymore. He smiled. The boy who'd been crying in the rain was laughing on a front porch, protected by a man who'd finally found his way home. If you believe that broken people can become protectors, that loyalty runs deeper than blood, and that everyone deserves a second chance at redemption, hit that like button and share this story. Subscribe now for more raw, powerful stories about real people facing impossible choices. Also, check out the 2 videos showing on the screen right now.